And gentlemen, this is Chaos, and I'm bringing you Attero versus TSLKiller Game 3. The third map here is Metalopolis, and spawning in the 6 o'clock position is Killer, and spawning in the 9 o'clock position is Attero. It's been pretty interesting the first two games, seeing Attero really come out in the first game with this 2-gate Stargate build with early Phoenix. And then ironically in the second game seeing Killer do the exact same build, but really with a stronger execution and beating Attero with his same strategy of using the Phoenixes to pick up the early Stalkers, and really just overwhelming the other player. This will be the first game in their series where they are not cross positions, and there will actually be a close air. So you may see some Stargate play out of these players. It's hard to say. Usually you see really 4 gates or robo plays in this matchup, so it's been kind of refreshing to see all this Stargate and Phoenix play. Killer has shown that he's really the player to take an early gas in this matchup, which has allowed him to have usually a better Stalker count early game, as well as getting additional sentries for force fields if need be, where Attero is favored just higher mineral counts overall. And he's typically been getting probes at a more efficient rate than Killer, which it's not to say either style is better than the other, but that's kind of what StarCraft comes down to quite often. It's just build orders against each other and seeing who transitions out the best. But up to this point, the builds are nearly identical again. It's not like other matchups where you can do a lot of different variations. It's not really until the Cybernetics core finishes that you can see really any change. Both players have thrown down their Cybernetics at this point. Killer's is slightly ahead of Attero's by a couple seconds. Nothing too drastic though. It's pretty hard to mess up a Protoss opening. Looks like Killer decided to take his second gas just before his Cyber finishes, which is pretty characteristic of all the previous openings he's been doing. And it looks like Attero choosing to get the early Zealot on the map. Now it looks like Killer favors to get these like 2 or 3 quick Stalkers and tries to take map control pretty early. Attero has been pushing out with the Zealot in the previous games. We'll see if he tries to do that again. But quite a bit of chrono boost has been built up on this gateway, so it's going to be interesting to see where Killer decides to use it. And double chrono boost, so he's actually going to get these 2 extra Stalkers out very quickly. Where Attero is actually supply blocked pretty hard here on 26. Looks like just a matter of Killer not really capitalizing and macroing as hard as he probably could be. But he's definitely going to be able to take a pretty early map control with having these 3 Stalkers out so fast. And Killer throwing down a Robo Facility. So we are seeing a 2-gate Robo opening. And wow, Attero throwing down a Robo Facility as well. So we're seeing almost identical openings so far. This could lead into either like early Immortals is pretty common, as well as Blink Stalker plays are pretty probable out of these openings as well. I know in the first game when Killer opened like this, he did try to get Blink Stalkers out, and he's throwing down a Twilight very early, so you can almost rest assured that Blink is going to be on the way. And with the research time increased since the last patch, you really want to get it early if you plan on doing a timing push with it. Killer deciding not really to use these early Stalkers to get his map control, just kind of going to the middle of the map and that's it. I feel like he kind of missed an opportunity to take out an early Stalker or 2 of Attero's, or at least keep him stuck in his base. Looks like an observer straight away out for Attero, and sure enough it looks like Blink has been researched for Killer right away. Now I'm curious if Attero is going to go for Blink right away. It seems like it would be a little bit weaker here, and he's going to be quite a bit behind. He may favor to go for a like an early immortal or two, which would be very strong against the stalker composition. His observer did move over for a second there, so he kind of saw what was going on. But both players is essentially doing the same thing, and it looks like Attero is favoring to get that early immortal, which does bonus damage against stalkers. And he started blinking research himself, so both players are going to be at the same spot here. But having that one extra immortal in the mix is going to allow the DPS of Attero's army to be superior. If we take a look at the stalker count, though, we can see that Killer actually has 4 extra stalkers. So if he microed it properly, he could potentially walk away the victor. But the longer this matchup kind of sits and the stalker counts increase, the less meaningful the small difference in stalkers becomes. We're seeing a little bit of a move out with quite a few forces, and Attero pushing out with his immortal. I'm surprised he hasn't opted to get another immortal or 2 in the mix. Usually if you have 2 or 3, you are very strong against this mainly stalker mix. Attero's blink's about to finish as well, so I feel like kind of Killer missed a timing push there where he could have really utilized his blink advantage. Because blink stalkers against unblink stalkers is usually a pretty bad scenario for the other guy. Because you can really just back off the weakened stalkers and take an early advantage. And it looks like Attero is planning to take a hidden expansion in the north position here. This could be very effective, because Killer has no idea that it's there. If we look at his vision, he's had no reason to think that somebody would scout there. And a lot of times in this matchup, the first person to expand usually dies, because you just kind of push them and then away you go. But Killer building a lot of minerals as well, so it looks like an expansion may be on the way for him. Or we might have a push here as well. Foods have almost equalized between the two players. Killer's money is still quite high, so he may throw a Nexus down behind this. And he's sending his probe out. I don't know if he's has a sixth sense that this is coming. If he does, that would be insane. Let's see where this probe ends up. No, so he won't detect that expansion, at least for a little while here. And really, the second this thing gets up and running, Attero's going to be in a great position. And he's scouting to ensure that an expansion hasn't been taken by Killer either. So smart having that probe still kind of across the map. We might be seeing an engagement pretty soon here. The forces of Killer are kind of collected at the tower here. And it looks like we're going to have a push out. If we look at the stalker count again, though, we can see that it's only a 2 stalker difference right now. We do have a proxy pylon down. But Attero has managed to get a few probes over to this hidden expansion, and he started mining. On the income tab, he is quite a bit ahead here, almost 300 minerals a minute. And really, if you think about that, it's extra probes or an extra immortal every minute in the mix to what your opponent has. Provide you so much extra insight. You know, it doesn't look like Killer wants to commit at this point. He's still just kind of backing off. And Attero's is starting to get so far ahead here. On the probe count, he's almost up 13 probes right now. And it looks like Killer decided to expand, but he still has no sense that the other expansion is there. So he thinks he's the first to pull the trigger here. So he's going to try to take a defensive nature and try to hold this more than likely. And I think Attero can catch a pretty good timing here if he scouts that this is up and just puts some pressure on. If we look at the stalker numbers again, we can see that we're almost equalized, but there's still that huge difference in probes. And it looks like Attero is throwing down a forge, so he might be deciding to get some early upgrades to take the advantage here. And adding 2 more gates, so his production is going to be quite a bit better than what Killer can match. Supply blocked again, though. Okay. Attero's let that happen to him twice so far. But ironically, Attero just put Killer into the red as well, so I guess that kind of equalizes out. It looks like we might be getting ready for an engagement, but right now Attero is up almost 20 food, and he started +1 weapons. And he's up about 3 stalkers. So Attero in great shape here. Really just that second base of Killer's just starting to get some saturation on it. Where if we look at the second base for Attero, he's got just over 16 probes on it right now. And here we go, we have a move out. And one stalker almost being picked off there. And proxy pylons are starting to move down the map. Might be having a push out any second. It looks like Attero will probably wait for that +1 weapon to finish up, and then he'll hit with a pretty strong timing push here. Surprised neither player decided to get extra immortals, because it would definitely make a big difference here. Look at the concave for Killer though. That's a great way if Attero engages into that. But with Blink you can adjust your concave pretty quickly as well. Both players expressing some talk between each other. But with all those extra gates that Attero has, it's going to be hard for Killer to match that production here. And +1 is about to finish. Killer actually getting the better concave to start with, but the +1 finishing just now. And now it's finished. It's hard to say who's coming out ahead here. If we look at the stalker count, you can see that Killer's slightly up, but that +1 is actually starting to pay off, and Attero's starting to get ahead. But it's still very close. But there's 20 probes difference behind this, so Attero's going to be able to force up pretty quickly here. And Attero just has so much more economy. Still up almost 40 food here. So although Killer kind of microed better in that battle and probably took the edge, he probably doesn't understand how this is possible that he's so far behind. And now we have another engagement by Attero here, and he's still reinforcing more stalkers. And if we look at the stalker count now, you see it's 22 to 13, so this won't even be close at this point. This will probably end up being GG. And sure enough, good game, and Attero, the Canadian player, takes the series 2-1 and actually manages to beat out the Korean Killer. It'll be great to see how Attero decides to proceed in this tournament. This is just the day 1 group stages.